Alright guys, Coach Jordan is here again with Milford Robotics, and we're going to continue our tutorials in LEGO Spike Prime programming for FLL. In this next series of videos we're going to go back a little bit to the basics and start to talk about the blocks that are available to you in LEGO Spike Prime. So just jumping straight over to Spike, let's look at some events. Events are the first one I chose to talk about today. One of the reasons is that the first block that you get to in almost all of your programs is usually when program starts. In fact, it's usually there when you create a new program. So if I create a new program, yeah, see, you get a when program starts, and then you would build off of that. So I thought that would be a good place to start. And so I have that, of course, as my first block. And what I've done is I've used a display block in order to show you some of these effects. And so a display block allows you to do all the lights of the display off, all the lights of the display on. It allows you to draw on here, right? You can draw everything you want. In this case, I've done some drawings for a bunch of different events, and we're just going to walk through and talk about them so you can understand. In the future videos, we're going to go through all of these. Remember, we're on events now, but we're going to do an individual video on motors, movement, light, sound, control, sensors, operators, variables, and my blocks. And then I'm on events today, but I also want you to know that there are a few more extensions down here you can download. Weather Manager, music, more motors, and more movement. Now, since we're only covering more for FLL, we're probably not going to do Weather Manager or music. We're going to stick to more motors and more movement. I think those will be actually useful in FLL. We're not going to cover the ones that would be useful for folks who are just having fun and tinkering in Spike. All right. So just to start off, the first things I want to show you is that inside of events you have all of these elements, and I've got most of them out here to show you as an example. We can actually bring out broadcast. Now, just an FYI that these items in the last column over here I've already covered in other videos. So if you go back and watch some of my other videos, I go into depth in some of these things, with the exception of this one, which is the color sensor. I'm going to do a video just on color sensing. I'm going to do a video just on gyro. Probably end up doing multiple videos because they can get pretty complicated and there's lots of different techniques for how to use them. But I want to just at least show them today because they are part of the events. And as far as broadcasting, we did go through pretty detailed in the follow-up video where we talked about when and broadcast and wait. We went pretty extensively into those, when being really, really powerful. And then in the first video we did, which was how to build your own master program, we also talked about when I receive a message, so that should already be covered as well. Alright, so let's just start at the beginning, and I want to point out for everyone that all of the other ones, other than the two broadcasts in event, these are all starter blocks. So you can see how there's a rounded area at the top of every single one of these. That means that you can't put anything else above that. So just as an example, if I grab the when I receive message, I can't stick something onto the top of it. I can put something underneath it, but I can't ever stick anything above it. It's a starter block. You can't have anything before it. There's no way to put it anywhere except above something. Alright, and so you can't have two of them in the same stack either. Alright, so the other thing that is interesting here is that the icon next to it kind of talks about what device it's controlling. So most of these have the device as the actual brick. One is just play because it's the start of the program. Some of these are touch sensors. You can see the pictures of the touch sensors there. The ultrasonic sensor, and the when and the when I receive don't have any for some reason, and then this is the color sensor. Alright, and then the last thing I want to talk about is that, as we saw in the first few videos, you can use more than one of these of a type at the same time. So you could use two when program starts. You can have one program starts do one thing, and another program starts do something else, and they will both run. Now I can't tell you why or when yet. One will run before the other. What determines that? But they'll both fire on the event of the program starting. Alright. Now they won't ever fire again because the program will only start once. During the course of that program, it will never fire again unless you close the program and reopen the program, and then it would fire once again. Alright. So that's true of all of these. These will only ever press or fire when their action happens. If their action stays that way, if the state goes into the state that this is monitoring and continues to be that way, it won't fire again until it changes to something else and then changes back to the state that it was looking for. So for example, I've got the 4 button actions right here. When left is pressed, when left is released, when right is pressed, and when right is released. So I press right, it won't ever fire the right pressed element until I later on press right another time. So if I hold it down, it won't fire multiple times. It'll only fire once. And if I let go and then I press it again, then it will fire again. All right, and that's true for all of these. All right, so let's just walk through some of these. I'm going to walk through the left, right, pressed and released, and then I'm also going to walk through when program starts. So when I turn this on, what you're going to expect to see, and I'll run it now so that it's ready when we go over there, you're going to see that the lights are going to turn on all when the program starts. If I press the left button, it's going to show the 3 far left blocks dimmed. When I release that button, it's going to show the 6 far left blocks dimmed. Right button 3 pressed will show on the right side, and right button released will show 6 on the right side. So let's just look at that here on the goodness, I still have something else firing. Oh, nope, that's just my color sensor. Okay, so unfortunately it's not going to show you my, actually that's really strange. Why is it doing that? I don't have anything now. Let's disconnect these just so that we don't confuse. So I'm disconnecting these hydrosonic sensors. I don't know why they're firing. They shouldn't fire because the thing's plugged in, but it doesn't want to work with us today. So, all right, so let's go over to the camera and look directly at the brick, and you can see that on program start, it turned on all the sensors, which is exactly what we told it to do. And then if as I mentioned, I'm going to press the left button. It's going to show me 3 on the left. Release shows me 6 on the left. Right, 3 on the left. Release 6 on the left. On the right. Sorry, left, right, left, right. Now, one thing you might notice is that with the EV3 brick, there's no way to do a press without doing a release. It's just not possible. If you did that on a computer and you weren't a button, you could actually press on something and then move off of it and release, and so that release wouldn't count because it wasn't on the original button. There's no way to release outside on this, so anytime you press do a press action, you're also going to fire a release action. If you don't listen for that release action, it doesn't bother you, but there's no way of doing both independently. So just an interesting little quirk there of the brick, or the hub in this case. So, all right, so we've got those two things going, and that's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to come back to the screen real quick, and I just want to show you clearly that that's really all that's available. So I can go left or right, and I can do press and release. Those are my only options, and so I've showed you all 4 possibilities that you can do with a button, and that's kind of important because there is no way right now that I can see of using the main button or using the Bluetooth button. It's not part of the capabilities of the device. They do other things. All right. All right, so the next few that I have here are actually when X is up, and X can be front, back, top, bottom, left side, and right side. Up cannot be changed, so I can only detect which one is up. And when I say up, it means if I'm looking down on the robot, this is up, right? This area up here is up. There's no way to detect if something's down or left or right or whatever. It's only detecting what side of this hub is up. All right, and so these in the controls that I have written here, there's 6 commands. I've got them all listed, and I've drawn a little icon for them. So I've got 1 for front, 1 for bottom, 1 for top, 1 for back, 1 for left side, and 1 for right side. Now, I'll never be able to show you back, unfortunately, because my camera is above, so there's no way for me to flip it over and still show you the lights because the lights will be underneath. But there's an interesting behavior here that I think is unexpected. At least it was unexpected for me. So just zooming in here, what I didn't expect is that which ones are which. So what front and bottom are, what front and back are, was unexpected for me compared to what is top and what is bottom. So I'm going to switch over the camera, and actually let's build this one more time just to make sure. So you're going to see an icon come up. So right now this is the one for when front is up. So this face is what they consider the front, not the top, which was unexpected to me. I would have expected this to be the top, and maybe this is the front and this is the back. No, this is the front, and underneath is the back. But then this is the top. Is up. This portion is up. So right now the front is up. So if a little confusing. So if I go this way until the top is up, now the top is up, and you can see that I have the top icon dark at the top. And then if I go this way, same thing is true on that side. Now the bottom is up, so the icon changes. It's just the icon that I just chose to display. I can come back to level, and now the front is up. I can go left, and now that is left and right and now right is up. Okay, these are just little icons that I made myself. If I flipped it all the way upside down, I'd get that last one, but I can't show that to you, so you're just going to have to trust me on that, where do the same experiment yourself. All right, so let's move back to the screen here. I'm actually going to take that off because it will interfere, and what I'm going to show you next is some touch sensor behaviors. So I'm actually going to plug in, I'm going to hot fix here the touch sensor. I've been able to plug these in and out without any problems, and it automatically detects. Now I have it set to be in F, and I just plugged it into F, so I should be good. And so what I'm doing here is I'm looking at when F, which is the place I plugged it in, which is a touch sensor, is pressed, is hard pressed, and released. And so the symbols that I've given it are a little plus for pressed, a large cross for hard pressed, and just dark in the corners it looks like a circle for release. So let's just look at that behavior, and you can see as I press the button what happens. So you can see that it's not pressed right now. I don't have anything for not pressed at the moment. So if I hit this down, you can see now that's pressed, and that's released, pressed, released, pressed. And then if I press it really hard, that's hard pressed. Okay, hard pressed, released, hard pressed, released, pressed on the way to hard pressed. So pretty easy to control, and it's pretty accurate. All right, so that's it's really straightforward. I'm just going to come back to the screen, and you'll notice that if I go in here, there's only those options except for pressure change. So let's look at pressure change for a moment. I'm going to disconnect these guys just so that we don't confuse ourselves as we do pressing, and I'm going to do pressure change. I'm going to do two things on pressure change. I've created two variables. Over here I've got amount pressed in newtons and amount pressed in percentage, and right now there's 0 because it's not pressed. And I'm first of all, I'm just showing an icon whenever pressure change. They're both showing the same icon because they're both reacting to pressure change, and then I'm showing the amount pressed. Although technically this is the same exact thing, so let's just delete these things because I think that's a little overcomplicated. So when pressure is changed, we're going to turn on that symbol, and then we're also going to set amount pressed percentage to the touch buttons. And here I am using some sensor returns, but I wanted to show you this under pressure change because it's one of the only things that makes sense to do under pressure change. Is hey, well, if you're detecting pressure change and not just pressed or hard pressed, then you really want to know the value, right? And so I'm showing you setting the value. So in this case, the pressure in percentage and the pressure in newtons, and we're storing the newtons one in a newtons variable and the percentage one in a percentage variable. So let's just make sure that it runs the brick. We'll switch to the camera, and let's show you what happens. So not pressed at all, and then I'm going to press down past that point. So it is pressing. Now you're not seeing anything differently on here, but I'm seeing it differently on the screen. So let me go. I just wanted to show you that it was working pressed, but let's go back to the screen so you can see what's happening on the in the variable. So it's far right of your screen. It says amount pressed in newtons at the top one. I'm going to press it down just a little bit. It says 0, 10, 220, 330, 440, 550, 660, 770. I'm starting to press really hard. 880, 990. I have to kind of get in there. And then 10, 100. So the only thing that's kind of weird here is I would expect to be able to get 1, 0. And I don't really have that ability. I have 0, 0, but for some reason I can't get it to say 1, 10. It still says 0 when I'm at the lightest point. So if I let go completely, it says 0, 0. If I press down at all, it says 0, 10. So newtons is not registering until I have 2, which is kind of interesting. Other than that, they're linear all the way up until 100. All right. So that's the amount pressed that you can get back when you detect the event handler when pressure changed. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is the ultrasonic sensor. So I'm actually going to close out of that. I'm going to unplug, and then let's plug the ultrasonic sensor into slot E on the other side. Alright, and so now we have an ultrasonic sensor plugged in, and we're going to instead look at when this is going to fire. So I'm just going to move down here to some ultrasonic sensor commands. Oh, I forgot one other thing. Oh, here we go. So the last thing I'm going to do is when timer is greater than 10. We'll do this before we get to the ultrasonic sensor. So let me just run this once, and I'll talk about it while it's running. But basically, when the timer always starts from when the program immediately loads, and it will count down or count up continuously while the program is running. And now I have a watcher that says when it gets over 10, show 10 on the screen. This is actually me drawing the number 10 and actually not having to display the number 10 because it would go 1, 0 otherwise. But I have a drawn 10 here, and so when my timer gets there, I know that it actually worked. So there you go. The timer works by, at the start, it starts counting up in seconds, and you can listen to any number. And so if you listen for, as an example in FLL, if you listen for 2 minutes and 30 seconds, you could do something at the end of the program because you know that the game is over, so you could have it chime or something at the end so that it does something specific. Or if you know a program only takes 10 seconds, you could set a timer and then say, if you haven't done it by this, stop anyway. Because it's gone too far, it's taken too long. Maybe your robot has gotten stuck and it just needs to give up and come home. So if it's gotten that far, you can set a timer. Now you can't create a timer, you can't set a timer, but you can reset a timer, and this is a global timer. So if you reset a timer, it'll just start at 0 again, and then you can listen for 5 seconds more. So you can control it. It does start from the beginning, but you can reset it at any point so that you start the count again. All right, so that's when timer. All right, so let's go back and take that out. I'm going to take this out because if I leave it in every 10 seconds for the rest of this tutorial, it'll start going off every time you turn turn the brick on and off or the program. So I'm saying that because I've learned from experience. So the next 3 are with the ultrasonic sensor. So I have it plugged into E, so they're all set to E. And let's just look at the options here. So you have closer than, farther than, or exactly at. And so this is just the distance that the element is from whatever it's detecting. And right now I have all 3 set to 8. So we can see the behavior of it looking for something at 8 inches. Is it closer than 8 inches? Is it farther than 8 inches? Or is it exactly at 8 inches? So we're just going to run that. And I'm going to switch over to the camera. And here you go. I'm going to take it. And I forgot to show you my 3 icons. So I have 3 icons. I have inches, so we're looking for 8 inches. I'm just showing IN. And if there's no dot on the far right side, it means it's too close. It's closer than 8 inches. If it's 2 dots, there you go. There's 2 dots. That means it's exactly at the amount of inches that it's looking for. And if it's 1 dot, it means that it's farther away than 8 inches. So farther away than 8 inches, actually 8 inches, and too close, less than 8 inches. Now I'm just going to get out a ruler here. This ruler, hopefully you can see that okay. If I hold it up straight, you can see that at 8 inches, it's about, I'm going to put my finger there so you can see it. It's not going to be an exact text, but you can see I'm less than, and I'm going to get up to about 8 inches, which it does seem correct, and then over 8 inches. 8 inches down. So it is accurate, and it's consistent. So it's 8 inches from the desk. All right. So we're going to do 2 more experiments real quick. I'm not going to switch back from the camera just because I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to change it to 4 inches for all 3 of these, so you can see if it's accurate at a different distance, and just verify that it does work. So in this case, I'm setting it to 4 inches, and we're going to do the same thing. So actually, we'll start low, so it's less than 4 inches. Then we're going to go up, up. There you go, 4 inches. That looks right here. So on the ruler, that would be right where my hand is. That's 4 inches. And then above 4 inches. 4 inches, less than 4 inches. Okay, so that's also working. Now the reason I did that is I'm going to show you the one last thing, and that is I'm going to go down to 2 inches. I've ran into this issue, and I wanted to be sure that you are aware of it. So I'm going to just take this tool, I'm going to rebuild it where it's searching for 2 inches distance, and I just want to show you the behavior here. So if I start tall, it does know that I'm more than 2 inches away. If I come down, it does know when I'm actually 2 inches away. Oh, there you go. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't tell you that I'm less than. So it's going to be exactly at all the way down. It won't work. It will never go away. So greater than, equal to, and still equal to. So it does not work less than 2 inches. And I don't know if that's exactly the sweet spot it stops working, but it no longer detects closer than below 2 inches, which is something that's important to know, so you don't want to use this tool in the wrong way. At that point, basically, you're probably wanting to, you're so close that you want to use the touch sensor instead. All right? So good information there. So I'm going to turn that off and then pop that out so that we don't get those readings. And then let's look at the last thing that I have here. I'm going to go on the computer and I'm going to pull up the last group. So I've got when shaken, when tapped, and when falling. You can see that those are the options that are in here. And these are actually gyrosensor behaviors. We looked at some gyrosensor behaviors before with tilting when what is up. And you can also, at some point, read the gyrosensor values. But these are gestures that you can listen for in events. And so we're going to listen for when it's shaken, tapped, or falling. Now, just going to warn you ahead of time that sometimes this is hard to do because these events are actually pretty extreme. They're not easy to get. I shouldn't say not easy. You can get them definitely, but you have to make a pretty strong action in order to do it. So, for example, when I shake it, I should get a little what looks like an anchor. When I have it tapped, it's going to look like almost like a diagonal cross. And when it's falling, I have some raindrops on the display. So let's just show the falling first. That's the easiest one to get. Oh, I never ran it. Hold on. Gotta run it. Make sure I've got it set up here. All right, so right now it's up. I'm going to drop it. Oh, didn't work. There you go. So that's the raindrop pattern 3. Okay. Now I could drop it again. It won't change because it's already in that state. The other thing I'm going to do is show you the tap function. So I'm going to tap. And you'll notice that it's not working. So I'm just going to increase my tap a little bit each time. There you go. That was enough to tap. So you can see that it's a pretty strong tap. It's not. I don't have to punch it, but I have to tap it pretty hard in order for it to register as a tap. Almost enough to shake the thing so it can register. And then the last one is shaken. And shaken, you have to be careful because sometimes it registers at false. So if I shake it this way, it actually doesn't work yet. It's pretty vigorous. There you go. That was enough. So I had to do up and down a little bit. I couldn't just do side to side. And so that's that anchor shake that I want. So again, fall, shake, and tap. There you go. All right. All right. So coming back to the screen. The last ones over here we've already talked about. So that's the end of our discussion on events. Hopefully that was helpful and interesting to you. Please like and subscribe. And then in the near future, we're going to jump over to something else, maybe do motors or movement in the next group. All right. Take care, everyone.